The Nephilim sightings are going to start soon.
Consciousness has been enslaved.
Your consciousness does not need your physical body to survive.
It's the thing that's necessary, it has to be there. It's the coding that projects this world we currently live in.
He said, I want you to read the Bible.
We got reptilians on just outside of our frequency zone.
Six-dimensional beings, the ancient builder race.
Ideas are the highest form of intelligence, and that leads you to truth and clarity.
The Nephilim sightings are going to start soon.
Conspiracy show?
There's obviously aliens. Our galaxy is insanely huge. We're just one planet.
They would have needed a minimum of 6 feet of lead shielding in order to get through the 25,000-mile thick Van Allen radiation belt.
This is real. They really did fake the moon landing.
The world is infinitely older than that. And I mean the world with human beings in it.
Skull and Bones is like one of the villains in the Legion of Doom.
He said, I want you to read the Bible.
The biblical flood, the Tartaria mud flood.
Conspiracy and chill.
The Nephilim sightings are going to start soon.
The bull god ball.
He said, I want you to read the Bible. There's magnets in the basketballs.
There was a political party, a third party called the Anti-Masonic Party at a point in the United States.
The Global Pandemic Treaty.
Conspiracy and Chill podcast.
Alright, it's just two of us, which is going to be a more common thing.
Giving the fans what they want.
So, a few things we talked about talking about. That's a weird fucking sentence. I have been wasting is a weird word, but that's a harsh word. I have been spending so much time lately, bro, playing Baldur's Gate 3 for the PS5. It's a Dungeons and Dragons game. It's easily the best role-playing game I've ever played, and I was a, massive Skyrim fan. But this is just, it's different. It's a totally different kind of role-playing experience than the Skyrim. But, oh my god, dude, I'm like 49 hours in, like when I save and it tells you how many hours, and I'm probably a third of the way through. There's no sight of slowing down, bro. It's bad.
I've clocked some despicable amounts of hours into games in my life, and yeah, they were fun. I enjoyed playing the games, and it's an interesting way to unwind sometimes, and especially when you're younger and you got nothing better to do. And I would just train, and when I was exhausted, then I would just game away. And I don't know, maybe you could say it's a waste of time a lot of the time with how much other shit you could be doing. But yeah, I was a Elder Scrolls Online fiend. Halo fiend. Elder Scrolls Online took up a lot of time, but that was some of the funnest gaming I've ever done. And we can get into later why it's a waste of time or a psyop or, the conditioning in video games. I was just playing fucking Overwatch. It's not a game I play often. I don't really like it. Only shooter I like is Halo, and I play some like games like Bannerlord and stuff like that.
What the fuck is Bannerlord?
Mountain Blade. It's probably the best game ever, to be honest. It's,
really?
You get to control like a soldier, but you can also get a party of you build up like an army of all these different cultures, and it's fucking sick. It's like you get the god mode, like control of the army, like where you can command and like move around the map, but you also get to be one of the warriors and like upgrade them and like be on the field fighting sword and shield and like commanding your troops to go wherever. It's extremely tactical and fucking awesome. What I was gonna say is I was making fun of, but it was too easy while playing Overwatch. I was like, my friends were getting me to play it, and I was just having some fun, or trying to. I don't game a lot. I was like breaking down the Illuminati and Mason symbolism in Overwatch, and there was just countless examples. I just had like the They Live glass on, like, oh, look at this symbol. Oh, wow, look, they put this here perfectly. Just fucking around, but I was serious. Gaming is definitely one of the main weapons on our minds, in a way, as fun as it is. We both like gaming. We can't be fucking fully detached in a way. We still got a life to live and not go fully fucking nuts, Everything is a psyop, but we need to have our few psyops that we can enjoy while knowing it's a psyop.
No doubt, bro. I'm about to go all in. I mean, there's no sight of me slowing down. I love that fucking game. Some trivia, or some numbers here. So, Baldur's Gate 3 was released August of last year, 2023. Guess how many millions of copies it has sold? Now, it's not a staggering number by any means. This is the company that released it, produced it, and created it is called Larian, and they're a relatively small company. So this is easily the biggest game they've ever put out. So take a guess on how many millions of copies it sold. And as I said, it's not a staggering number, but it is absolutely
6 million.
10 million.
10 million.
Yeah, very respectable. Very, very respectable. Now, contrast that with Skyrim, which was released on, of course, November 2011, 11/11.
Yeah.
So how many millions of copies do you think Skyrim has sold? And all this takes into account
And
all,
they've released it, like, yeah, all the
all
re-releases.
platforms, all the re-releases. This is more impressive.
100 million.
60 million.
Wow.
That's a lot of fucking video games, bro. A lot.
That is.
Another impressive number, I told you I logged about 49 hours on Baldur's Gate 3, but when I look, and I haven't played Skyrim probably in a year, but when I look at the hours on Skyrim, I'm at 480 something, which is pretty impressive.
Mine was off the charts.
And then when my son, he's into this game called Genshin Impact, and he's logged over 900 hours. It's just like, fuck, dude. Like, yeah, a work week is 40 hours. You know? Like, think about that.
Gaming is the main pastime of people nowadays. N64 and, like, solo games and shit like that when we were young, that shit was fun. It was not as, readily available. You wanted to game with your friends, you had to go to their house, like, and if you were gaming, you were just trying to, like, beat a task. You weren't just, like, fully fucking immersed in another world escapism. Yeah, you were, like, ADHD focusing on something else, like trying to beat this platformer game, but you know what I mean? It wasn't just, like, another world to fucking escape into, like some of these super advanced games and just endless fucking hours of battle royale shooters. Just like, I don't know. I miss the old gaming. I would love to play some old platformers and like Toy Story, fucking N64 or whatever, like goofball game that's super hard to get a hold of nowadays.
So there's an N64 game, and I almost didn't graduate high school because of this game, because my friends and I, we would leave school early and we would go play this game because it was the first of its kind first-person shooter where you could play on the same console 4 people versus each other. Do you know what game I'm talking about?
Was it Halo?
It was not. It was before Halo. Halo was an Xbox thing.
GoldenEye?
Yes, sir. Ding, ding, ding.
Brutal.
Fucking 007 GoldenEye, bro. Man, that game. I still remember the facility, the complex. I mean, these are levels that are burned into my brain. So weird, right? You know what's crazy, bro, is to this day, I can hear certain songs. Like, for instance, when I was like 10 years old, we lived in an apartment, and I remember playing Super Mario 2. And I remember putting on certain cassette tapes back then, and if I hear the song today, it can take me to that place when I was a 10-year-old kid playing that game. The power of music, dude, there's nothing like it, you know?
It is weird how we can immediately be like brought back to a certain like sense, whether it was like from a song or a sound or a smell or a location or whatever the fuck, can bring you back to like that feeling that you had. I'm sure there's a name for that phenomenon.
I'm sure. You know who would probably know the name of that phenomenon? Who seems to know a lot of shit that people don't really seem to catch on to what he's doing until years later?
Who?
Brooks Agnew, former guest.
Yeah, we got to get him as a return guest.
No doubt. So for people that are listening right now that may not have heard our previous episode we're referring to with Brooks Agnew, Brooks Agnew is, first off, he's fucking super smart dude. He's an engineer, brilliant guy. To sum it up quickly, he is known for Hollow Earth. However, it's not so much that he's like this big proponent in Hollow Earth. He is a science guy. And he was explaining on the podcast to Tom and I how there was this expedition in the North Pole region, and one of the ways they're able to track some kind of science is through the stingrays. I guess remember what he was saying, how their species is very, or certain stingrays are very sensitive and delicate to certain changes, so they're able to kind of tell certain things from that. Well, he was explaining how years ago there was this anomaly where there was thousands of stingrays that have since been extinct. And so from that, he was postulating that there has to be an inner Earth ocean. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because recently I shared an article that I came across with Tom. It has since been published on a few different websites. It looks like he's kind of been proven correct here. Look at the headline of this is gigantic ocean discovered 700 kilometers below Earth's surface, holds 3 times more water than all oceans combined. Let me read the first paragraph. Check this out, it's legitimate. Researchers at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, have discovered a massive subterranean ocean, 3 times the size of Earth's surface oceans, hidden beneath the Earth's crust, the planet's crust, challenging existing theories on the origin of Earth's water. So, Northwestern University, that's no fucking minor league school. They're elite. So, dude, to me, that's just kind of like fucking, right? That's nuts. It opens up so many possibilities.
Well, Brooks pretty much said as much as far as a bunch of academic people being on board with what he was figuring out and agreeing with him. He essentially said as much, too, that there was like a massive amount of hollow terrain detected within the studies and shit, like miles and miles and miles. So to say it's bigger than the other oceans, too, yeah. I mean, nothing surprising to hear now. And
I mean, everybody should know that. People should be having conversations about that. Like, people should know that. You know, my mom should be calling me being like, Michael, did you know? You know, like, people should know this shit. Instead,
it
like...
would be cool, right?
Dude.
Right? And what if there's a Godzilla going to step out?
No doubt. You're in my head because I was going to ask you. There's a difference between me asking you, what do you think's possible and what do you think is likely possible? So, what do you think is likely down inside of the Earth, knowing that all of this water is there, and what water is the basis for life?
Fuck, dude. Probably all types of crazy ass ancient sea life, and probably some sort of Atlantis or Nephilim / Anunnaki or Sea Kingdom type of thing, or like the Nazi inner Earth theory, or hollow Earth bases and shit like that, or like another ecosystem within. I'm open to anything, dude. I think it's just not. It's not what they're telling us. If they say, "Oh, well, it's just a dead ocean" or something, like, yeah, no, there's more to it.
See, I used to think that aliens called the ocean their homes because of all the USO sightings and so many people claiming to see UFOs rise and descend into water. And now I'm kind of been leaning towards them perhaps residing inside of the Earth. And I'm not saying that's all of them, because I don't believe that all of them reside there. I don't even believe they're all in the same dimension. But I think the ones that are terrestrial, I think that they do reside inside of the hollow Earth. I mean, that's what the evidence shows.
Yeah, just as many mythology or like origin tales or like folklore and shit has the deities or gods or beings coming from the sky, you know, coming down from the sky, which they always purport to be aliens. There's just as many of them coming out of the sea, or reported to have come from the sea, and quite a few underground tales as well too. So yeah, man, all bets are on. Are they extra dimensional? The majority of the beings that interact with Earth and that we talk about on this type of show, is it outer space aliens flying here from another place? Is it things that live underground on our world that have lived here for the longest time? Is it an ancient being from the ocean? Is it demons? Is it angels? Who the fuck knows, man?
Brooks knows.
We're here for it all. He does seem to think that they're extraterrestrials, yeah.
That's a fun one. We do have to get him back. If for anything else, just so we can come on here and gloat for a little bit, you know? He also mentioned during our conversation that he tried to get funding for like a TV show, remember?
Right, yeah.
I wonder if this would help that. You would think that would help the cause, you know, this recent finding. So, yeah, we got questions for Brooks. We got to get him back on. So, Psyops. Okay, when I say Psyops are a fairly recent creation, you have to let me explain. Obviously, Psyops have been going on for forever. In the Bible, there's Psyops. What I mean is the term Psyop is thrown around in everyday language now,
right?
Very, very liberally, and that's what I mean by the Psyops are kind of a new thing for people. It's like, you know what I mean? It's a weird thing because people are using it, and everything is a Psyop nowadays. People are saying. So when I ask you the question, is TikTok a Psyop? I'm not being facetious. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being honest, because there's a lot of real smart people in the know that seem to think, and it seem to know that TikTok is a psyop. So I wanted to kind of talk to you about this, and I don't know much about it. I did watch a podcast, and General Robert Spalding was kind of talking about this, so I did take some notes that I wanted to bounce off you and see what you think. So by no means am I an expert on this at all, but I did want to see where you were at with it.
No, I'm certainly no TikTok expert either. I don't have an account. A lot of people have told me I should make one, content creating or whatever I do, and I probably should, but I really don't want to because I have felt that it's been a psyop all along. What is a psyop? A psychological operation, which is, designed to have an effect on the mind of the people who are the intended targets of it, I guess. Yeah, I think it's made everybody who's fucking grew up on it and used it stupider and shorter attention span. And yeah, I'm sure there's good stuff on there too, but I'm sure majority of the time it's just dancing and ass shaking and just dumbass stuff, and then taking all these facial apps and stuff like the aging challenges or whatever, the filters, and it's textbook psyop, if you ask me. Yes.
I have never downloaded TikTok. I've never fucked with it. I've always, like you, thought it was a psyop. And the show doesn't have one. I don't have one. Maybe if one day we're doing 50 million downloads per and we need to, fine, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But until that time comes, no fucking TikTok for this guy. So check this out. Some of the things that I was able to find, some of the things I thought were amusing. So on Reddit, I was able to find this interesting subreddit where the title is, "What does TikTok actually do that is so bad?" And the top comment on the thread is, "I'm starting to believe that TikTok is a form of Chinese hybrid warfare. Is TikTok worse than the other 100 apps I have on my phone? I installed a firewall logger on my Android phone and saw things like Etsy app sending messages to Facebook when I was not even running the Etsy app and had not run it for months. Another app showing the phases of the moon was trying to send messages when I have not run the app for over 6 months. It looks to me like everything on my phone is trying to spy on me. What does the TikTok app do that makes it worse than the rest of these apps?" And then, there's a couple of people that go on to mention some things that make it worse. But yeah, I mean, why would you have, Etsy and a moon phase app communicating with each other when you haven't used one of the apps in over half a year? So why wouldn't Etsy app need to talk to a moon phase app when the moon phase app hasn't even been used in 6 months? Like, when you're not even around, not even using it. There's no good reason for that.
Creepy.
Right? Creepy. Yeah. Some other things that I found that I wanted to share with you and get your thoughts on. So this guy on X says, TikTok is a communist Chinese brainwashing psyop to trick American children into opposing U.S. foreign policy. It's like Havana syndrome for big tech alumni. What do you think?
Yeah, they can make it whatever the hell they want. And the surveillance shit scares me. Like, dude, nothing is private anymore. Their fucking, bank account, their fucking social media, their political beliefs, the things that they type on their phone, the things that they search, type of porn they watch. They know what screenshots. They know, like, they have a full fucking profile on everybody. Like, it's crazy. Like, what is that gonna be used for? Is AI just gonna know everything about everyone? Like, that's what they really want here. So I don't remember exactly where this information. It was some numerology guy or something on tinfoil or someone's show, and I've used this because it's a crazy alignment. I may have mentioned it on here before too, but I'm gonna add in the point that I think ties it all together that my buddy added. So this was not on the original place that I heard it. 1968 was Bush graduating. George Bush Jr., whatever, H.W. Bush, the younger one, 9/11 one. He graduated from Skull and Bones and Yale in 1968. The World Trade Center construction started in 1968. The Boeing plane model that ended up hitting the Twin Towers was rolled out to the public and made available in 1968. The New York Jets won their one and only Super Bowl in 1968. And the numbers 911 was made the standard national emergency number. It used to be different, around in different places, but in 1968 they made it the universal emergency number 911. So all of those events then culminate on 9/11. George Bush, who was in his secret society, just graduated, happens to be the president of New York and a president in when New York gets hit with the 9/11 in 2001. The same plane that hit it, created in the same year that he graduated. The World Trade Center construction started in the same year as that. The New York Jets only Super Bowl, and then the number 911 all being put together. So talk about a psyop. 9/11 was a psyop made that far back. People will be like, what? That far back? Like, yeah, dude, it's probably hundreds of years back. Maybe not to the exact date that they were going to do what, but like fulfilling the plan of these secret societies 100%. And the thing that my friend added then, because he's a big movie guy, like when I was trying to convince my other friends that, he said, oh yeah, and 1968 was 2001 A Space Odyssey too. And I was like, holy shit, like, because Kubrick's always associated with, you know, like revealing stuff, or he's like very mentioned amongst predictive programming or subliminal messaging and stuff. And my other friends were like, I don't see how that has the tie-in. I'm like, well, it says 2001, and then what's the theme of the movie? So like, again, 9/11, 2001. And I'm like, what is the theme of the movie? It's technology, aka AI, a supercomputer, knowing and controlling literally everything to the point where it's like a god government, like over man, all knowing, all like powerful thing, right? And I've actually never even still seen the movie in its entirety, but that's the theme, no? Like the computer that takes over and like is the mastermind of everything. And tell me 9/11 is not the start of that, with the Patriot Act and all the laws that was passed after 9/11, the spying that we just discussed of like our phones, all these things, these service agreements and security things that you have to agree to, everything being filmed, everything being, you know, airport stops, pull over, like being detained, searched all the time, like that type of shit was not the norm before 9/11. 9/11 was used to set up the future, because what's that all going to lead to then? The AI fucking controlling everything and knowing everything and having raps on everybody, and 9/11 was necessary to get to that point, because that's how they justified all these, you know, invasions of privacy leading up to the point we are at now, and we're all perfectly okay with it, and oh well, I'm not doing anything, and just meanwhile, yeah, they got us all.
Okay, so I want to talk about a bunch of things. Number one, I remember what I was going to say, and I'm going to say it right now, just so if I forget it again before I get there, you can remember it. Havana Syndrome. It was mentioned in the tweet that I read to you, but before we get into that, so 9/11 as a psyop, I 100% think there's a lot of fuckery with 9/11. In my mind, it's hard for me to think that they put the plans in motion to do what they did to it in 69. Not saying that it's not possible. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, that's a lot of fucking coincidences. I don't know. I mean, I definitely think that they knew about it, you know. I honestly don't know. I should probably be more well researched on the whole 9/11, because there's so many different conspiracies that go into it. Like, I just found out from that documentary that came out last year that there was another plane that had a bomb on it that never left the airport. Did you ever hear about that?
No.
Dude, there's a fucking documentary on Hulu. It's called The Other Plane or some shit like that. It's crazy. So there's so much to it that I still don't know. But yeah, I mean, a whole bunch of fuckery. Do you really think that they put the plans in motion in 69 to bring it down in 01?
Yeah, I would not put it past them to my understanding. These powers that be, shadow government motherfuckers, are part of like a millennia old belief system and secret cult, like serving an ancient fucking darkness or some shit, and been taking commands for thousands of years on what to do. So how the fuck should I know? It's way beyond crazy than even we believe. But yeah, that it seems to line up with all those coincidences, if you ask me. And then my friend's little quip about 2001 A Space Odyssey and me connecting that to how 9/11 was part of it.
It definitely kind of adds like a whole new layer to it. I will say, though, that our government, they are extremely adept at seeing an opportunity and fully taking advantage of that motherfucker.
They already have a reaction accounted for, and then they present the solution that's already pre-planned.
Mm-hmm. And I definitely think there was a lot of that going on. Did you know, or do you know, what Havana Syndrome is? Because I'm telling you, I had no fucking idea. I had to look it up.
Not by name, so what is it? Let's see if I maybe heard of it.
So, Havana syndrome, formerly known as anomalous health incidence, is a disputed medical condition reported primarily by U.S. diplomatic, intelligence, and military officials stationed in overseas locations. Reported symptoms range in severity from pain and ringing in the ears to cognitive dysfunction, and were first reported by U.S. and Canadian embassy staff in Havana, Cuba, hence the name, though earlier incidents may have occurred in Frankfurt, Germany. Starting in 2016 through 2021, several hundred U.S. intelligence and military officials and their families reported having symptoms in overseas locations, including China, India, Europe, Hanoi, as well as Washington, D.C., which isn't a overseas location, so I don't know why that was included in it. But yeah, I mean, there's more, but I think you get the gist. It's kind of a weird one. I never heard about that before.
Can we ever trust anything told to us about health or sickness ever again after the past couple of years?
No doubt.
I feel like I barely can.
No, absolutely, you're right. The Havana syndrome, the way it was described there, to me, and I'm untrained, full transparency, I'm untrained, but to me, that sounds like bullshit. It sounds like, hey man, I don't feel good, maybe my ears ringing, or maybe I have some body aches, and, well, you know what? You probably have Havana syndrome. You know, it's like, really? If you're living your life overseas, you're going to have all the same stressors you would have at home living your life, right? Most days go by, you're either in pain, you're aggravated, you know, maybe there's ringing in your ear, maybe you bend down, you get lightheaded. Those things happen. I don't have fucking Plano, Illinois syndrome. You know what I mean? Like, come on. I don't know.
So what do you think is going on then?
I think people are full of shit, and I think doctors are psychopaths largely. No, I'm not a medical denier. Doctors, the dichotomy is a weird one, because doctors nearly killed my son, then a competent doctor saved my son. So I'm by no means anti-medicine. I'm anti-bad medicine, and unfortunately what I see most of the time now is bad medicine. So that's kind of why I take such a negative spin when I talk about physicians usually. Basically, I just think doctors, in part, like, if you give doctors an opportunity to say that you have something, no doctor is going to say, you know what? You have a little ringing in your ear, you're a little lightheaded, you have some general body pain. You know what? It's probably just nothing. No doctor's going to say that. Doctors are going to be like, oh, well, you could have, let's run these tests. Let's do this, let's do that. Or, it could be this, it could be. Really? It could be, but it's probably not. I think most of it's probably just people are full of shit and doctors like to fucking play God, I'm sure there's legitimate cases, of course. I'm not saying that. I just think it's like, what's that one? Okay, it's like fibromyalgia. You've heard of that?
I'm not even familiar with what it's supposed to be.
It's disputed in the medical community. 50% of the doctors don't think it's real. It's more common for women to have it, although men have reportedly had it too. There's no way you can prove it. There's no test that you can do to say you have it. There's no blood work you can get done to say that you have it either, okay? It's general pain. It's pain. That's it. Your body, where? All over. Oh, you have fibromyalgia. That's what it is. That's what it is. So that's another case where it's just like, wow. I'm not denying that they're in pain, but dude, you reach 40 every day, your fucking body is gonna ache. You're an athlete,
Oh, dude, I'm hurting right now.
That's what I'm saying, dude. You don't have fucking fibromyalgia. You have Tom fucking goes way too hard in the gym. Phobia. You know what I mean? That's what you have. You don't have some illness. Yeah, I don't know. And I'm not, like I said, when I talk to a lot of people, and I know I don't have to preface it with you or even probably the audience, but I feel like I have to, because I'm conditioned that way. Like, people automatically think, oh, well, this guy's crazy, he's anti-medicine. It's like, no, I'm not. Just because I don't believe in certain things, just because I'm anti that and anti-bad doctors doesn't mean I'm anti-medicine.
Nobody can be one thing and another. Nobody can have conflicting or varied beliefs. If you're one thing, you're automatically labeled into We're shoved into a box in the ever divisive world that we're in. It's funny.
Mm-hmm. I mentioned that I listened to a podcast with General Robert Spalding. Some of the notes I took. I wanted to get your thoughts on them. So in China, TikTok is not even allowed. I thought that was interesting. Instead, they have this thing. It's called Douyin, and it's essentially it's a Chinese language equivalent to TikTok, and each kid is allowed 40 minutes per day on it. But what is on it is they highlight scientific achievements, mathematics, sports. That's it. You're not going to find no bullshit on this Douyin. When they polled TikTok users and then the Douyin users, the young kids from America and China, the number one thing that young kids want to be in America is an influencer. He explained how it's very dangerous because what's happening now is TikTok is influencing the behavior and the behavior patterns of the youth and the people that use the app. And at the same time, they're reducing national productivity. And they're molding the future generations. They're corroding civilization. They're corroding our rights by infecting the youth. This is the long game, man. We've been playing fucking checkers, and they've been playing chess since 1969 when we were fucking building the trade centers, you know?
Shit, since 1766 and longer.
No doubt. I mean, about the future, I don't have much hope for it. And I don't like saying that, but it's just like, I don't know, man. To where it was when I was young, to where it is now, it's almost unrecognizable, man.
Pretty hard to plan ahead. Expect normalcy.
Shit does happen, but it is never when we expect it, which kind of leads me into a question. So when I was younger, kind of exploring these ideas, I was a huge Nostradamus fan.
Oh, yeah.
I am not anymore, obviously. But I would always wonder, if he knew all these, like, why couldn't we stop these things? And then people would always say things like, well, it's encoded. It's not meant to find out. It's like, I just think that it's really shitty that after it happens, it's like, really, can you just one time show me?
Somebody decipher it for the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Am I wrong there? Like,
it's a fair critique that we could just apply anything after the fact, any obscure shit.
What are your feelings on Nostradamus?
Who knows, man? I do feel like there are some psychic phenomenons. Like maybe he had a device or he had an ability or...
He used a bowl of water he used.
Who knows, bro? Like, there are psychic people. Like, I don't know if it's because they're tapped into the spirit world. Something is telling them they can see the timeline. Maybe like past, present, and future all exist at the same time. And like, you can just sometimes get a glimpse. But I've seen it firsthand. Dated a girl who was undeniably psychic. Like, I've had other weird things happen. Like, I do feel like people can tap into stuff. Like, people have premonitions, like gut feelings, just like story or like prophetic dreams and shit. So who really knows? Like, it might say more about like what is time and experience and stuff like that. It's not out of the realm of possibility, but yeah, it is always after the fact. Nobody's taken all of his other writings and laid out like, hey, here's what they're going to do next. I'm sure there are people who've tried or put their spin on it, but yeah, I don't think that we've been able to use his things as a playbook unless we're looking backwards.
Yeah, and to your point, I believe in, like you said, dreams and all kinds of weird shit. I definitely, I don't have the answer. I know that there's definitely crazy things that happen, but with Nostradamus, it's just like him particularly, it's like if you look at the quote-unquote predictions that he's made successfully, and you take all the predictions that he's made, he's less than 1% accurate. Now, some could say, well, we just haven't figured what those other quatrains. A quatrain is what he called, each prediction was a quatrain because it was written in 4 lines. So some people could say, maybe we just haven't figured out what, I don't know. And it broke my heart because I was a huge Michel Nostradamus fan, One thing that I think is kind of interesting is Leonardo da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa. But have you ever seen the theory that the Mona Lisa is actually Leonardo da Vinci as a woman because the dimensions, like when they mathematically did his face and laid it over, it was like an identical match to her. Ever heard of that?
No, I don't think I have.
What are your initial thoughts on that? I just think he was doing it to like fuck with people, more or less, you know, because he did encode a lot of crazy shit in his work. Have you seen some of like the old Renaissance paintings that have like UFOs in them and shit?
Oh yeah,
dude. So that's the argument that I use when I'm having a conversation about UFOs with people. When people want to say, well, you know, it wasn't even a thing until Kenneth Arnold saw him in 1943, and it's just like, or it's a recent. I think it's the government. Listen, I definitely think the government has some crazy technology, definitely has things in the sky that we don't know about. I'm not denying that. But when people just write it all off to the government, it's like, dude, there was no government in the 1600s flying things in the sky, but yet here they are being depicted. You know what I mean?
I have a theory too. People have said that all those Renaissance creators and stuff are basically named after like angels. Like Michelangelo would be like the angel Michael, and they're saying like, oh, the angels might have built something else. Or I don't know what Leonardo da Vinci's name means. I've looked it up upon a time, but Leo definitely has to do with lion. That is a nod to the Gaels, the Gauls, the Gallic Wars, the Druids, the knowledge that was stolen and, you know, replaced by the Catholic Church and whatever else, and Masonry, with his name being a reference to Galilee where Jesus was born. And I don't know, I think it's just a funny cover up that they threw in and be like, actually, this is where our knowledge came from. Huh?
What's sad is we'll probably never know like the answer to most of this shit.
I know. We don't have the looking glass.
Mm-mm. No.
If we did know, Mike, we would be out of show if everybody knew, or if we knew any of the answers. See, that's the fun of it, is questioning.
Yeah, that is the fun. However, I just would like to know that when my time here was done, that I would get the answer to all of my questions. If I knew that...
Yeah, that'd be cool.
If that if I knew that was what happened after I expired, knew that I was about to get all of these answers to all of these questions I've had my whole life.
Right, dude. I like that. I don't have any reason to believe it shouldn't be that. I, have dabbled with all sorts of spiritualities, and when I was kind of like, oh shit, I think there's something to Jesus and whatever recently, as you or anyone who's heard us talk about this type of stuff. But I still definitely don't fall in line at all with any religion, or even the Bible itself is a book written by man. Yeah, they say it's whatever, the word of God inspired by man. But at the same time, dude, all these different kings, all these different secret societies, all these different people have edited it, taken things out, added things in, changed things up. I know how evil a lot of these religious institutions and shit are. So I feel weird even to try and say that I am a Christian or this or that, and the Druidry. And I just think that religion is a massive psyop. Everything like that resonates with me for sure. But all this other, stuff like that. But I like to believe, I will get some sort of closure or answers or whatever when the time has come.
Is religion the first psyop?
Fuck, man, probably. And I believe that at a time it probably wasn't, and it was closer to what it should be. If there is a purpose, is, I guess, as far as what I'm saying, is a form of spirituality that's, I don't know, sustainable and God-based, sustainability-based and abundance-based, and not condemnation and governing and rules and death worship and fucking fear and all that. That's the clear psyop. And I believe it was flipped on its head at some point. But I would say, religion has always been used as a psyop.
Bringing this session full circle, kind of, I used to have a theory. Not necessarily a theory. I used to have an idea that I thought would be really cool that would happen when we died. I thought this would be really cool if this is what happened. Wouldn't it be cool if when we did expire from this earth, wouldn't it be cool if you got to pick a video game or a movie or something like that, what you want, Skyrim. I want when I want to go into the Skyrim world. So, boom, you get transported into the video game. But it's not a video game, though. It's the real thing. It's just you're in Skyrim, the game. But it's real. It's like real, like not a cartoon. It's real. Wouldn't that be cool?
If it's just whatever your mind and spirit wants. A lot of people believe that type of afterlife.
Where would you pick?
I don't know, man. I used to kind of like the idea of like some Valhalla shit. I'm not gonna lie, but I feel like Valhalla is also like the original jihad psyop. Like, don't you think that the Islamist extremist guys that are trying to get somebody to go die for them, or like Japanese kamikaze soldiers, like that they're, you know, being swayed by the leadership, like, hey, you got to go die for this. Like, if you do, you'll be like, you know, into paradise, and you'll have all this, you'll have all these virgins, you'll be honored, you'll have like a fucking million chariots in the afterlife if you go like kill yourself for this. The Vikings was the same shit. For some reason, we think that's cool and badass. Like, oh, you go die in this fucking battle for me, the king, the jarl. You'll be able to go to Valhalla with Odin and feast all day, all the time, and live in endless battles. And I mean, yeah, it does sound sick to just fight, reborn, fight, feast, reborn. But I don't know, man. I probably would want to be in some like Shire type of shit. Send me to some badass like foresty realm. But I do want to get some fighting on, so I don't know.
The Jarl of Windhelm.
I used to be an adventurer like you. Then I took an arrow in the knee.
Exactly.
Oh,
but
man.
tell me fucking Viking chieftains pushing that on them is any different than a kamikaze or a jihadist. Like,
I've never
religious extremists. Yeah, the religious extremists. They were terrorists. The berserkers and shit. The Odinist was basically a religious extremist.
I've never thought about it, but the way that you laid it out, it absolutely, there's no difference between what they did there than what the Japanese did with the kamikazes, or the Muslims do with the 900 virgins or whatever. You know, there's no different. Yeah, I never thought about that, but that's interesting. That's crazy.
And you could put it on any spin. The Crusaders and shit, like, they were like, all right, well, whatever, if I die in battle, I'll be with Jesus, I'll be with whatever. The Celtic warriors and like the Gauls and the Irish and shit believed in another world. Like, they basically believed that it wasn't like a heaven, it was just like you live in another version of the world once you die. And when people are born into the world that we're in, that they were coming from the other world. And so they even fought naked, and like they made armor. Like, they actually invented chainmail, but a lot of times they would just fight shirtless for sure, or even just straight up naked, because they were like, oh, I don't care, dude. If I'm meant to die, then I'm meant to die. Like, if the gods are on my side, then I'll win because I'm, you know, a badass. And if I die, then I'll just go to the other world. It's what they wanted. It was my time. So they just fought like completely fearlessly. So the ancient Celtic version of a religious fanatic terrorist extremist would have been a naked charging guy, painted or tattooed, who just didn't give a shit if he went to the other world or not. He just wanted to go out brawling for the fun of it.
So if you had to pick a video game that your body, your soul, everything about you, you know, when you go, would be transported into this video game, what game would you pick?
Shit, I better pick a good one, because who knows if they're going to try and upload our consciousness. I would say Skyrim does sound really fucking fun. Like, just being able to attack and fight these fucking crazy creatures. And what race were you in Skyrim?
Well, I had a couple different characters, but the one that I would find myself going to most, a Khajiit maybe?
Nice.
I play a lot of thieves.
On an orc. I definitely clocked the most on an orc. Just brutal fucking melee. But I had an Argonian too, who was like thiefy, and I love Argonians.
Yeah, I like the Argonians too. The Argonian ale. The skooma.
Did you play ESO, Elder Scrolls Online?
Okay, so I was so excited. I got it, and I was like, this is fucking different. This is not. I don't like it. I didn't like it.
It's the only type of game like that I ever played. But yeah, totally different experience. MMORPG. Like, yeah, dude, I had a guild. I would play with my friends. Like, I went hard on that shit for years. Like, I took some time off, but for years I played mad ESO, and I liked it. It was fun. Definitely some of the funner gaming experiences I had, but wasted a lot of time on it. Fucking game had poor performance too. Like, but yeah, it was a very immersive game for sure.
Yeah, games are so fun, dude. I throw my headphones on, plug that bitch into the PS5 controller, and I just go. It's just fun. You could hear like every little like from him walking, like from the characters walking on like a wooden bridge to like the concrete to the brick, you could hear like the different fucking tones, and it's incredible, man. Having the privilege to just watch video games from 1989 to where they are now, it's just like, wow, like it's
we got
crazy.
To grow with it.
Sure did, dude.
Well, shit, you're making me kind of want a game tonight.
There you go. I'm probably gonna. Well, I don't know. Maybe if I get some fucking food in me, I might play some Elder Scrolls. You got me thinking Elder Scrolls now. Fucking Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, you should look into Bannerlord, dude. Probably the best game of all time. And any of the people out there who like the art of war, you know, that is the fucking game.
Bannerlord.
Mountain Blade.
What is Mountain Blade?
So that's the series. You like on a horseback, like you mount a horse and you fucking fuck some people up. It's like a civilization type of game, but also, like I said, you get to battle. It's like, imagine Call of Duty fucking with axes and swords and spears, but instead of just everyone being 1v1, like it's, you know, just a computer world, like a immersive world, and you're fighting other armies and you're controlling your army on the field while you're fighting. It's sick.
Wow. That sounds crazy. Do they have any questionable kind of characters?
Like, what do you mean?
You know, like people you might have to stay away from.
Dude. It's a whole like
pedophiles
running. It's a whole running empire, like or civilization. There's like a bunch of different like factions. There's like a Viking culture. There's two like empire, like Roman and like Byzantine empire cultures. There's like an English knight empire thing. There's a Celtic one. There's a Arab one. There's a Mongolian like horse-based one that's fucking sick, and you can like take territories all around the world and like conquer castles and like be at war with all these different nations and start wars with them. And so yeah, you get fucked up and you get your whole army like wiped out and you get arrested, and it's an intense game, bro.
Did you ever play Risk, the board game?
Never.
Wow. Do you know what it is?
Right, that's one of the few. I don't really know the premise of it.
It's like World War II. You like have the Axis and the Allies. There's actually a better game that's called Axis and Allies, and it's Risk is a ripoff of that game, but some of those games can go for weeks. Like
that's wild.
Because it's literally like world domination kind of shit, dude. But yeah, I was wondering if there was any people you had to stay away from, like pedophiles.